Om Namo Narayana and welcome back. Today we are reading the Nada Bindu Upanishad. We're going to be reading the whole thing. It's not too long. The syllable A is considered to be its right wing. Upanishad, its left. M, its tail. And the Ardha Matra half meter is said to be its head. The Rajasic and Tamasic qualities, its feet upwards to the loins, Sattva its main body. Dharma is considered to be its right eye, and Adharma its left. The Burloka is situated in its feet, the Bhuvaloka in its knees, the Suvaloka in its loins, and the Mahaloka in its navel. In its heart is situate the Janoloka, Tapaloka in its throat, and Satyaloka in the center of its forehead between the eyebrows. Then the mantra beyond the Saharasva is explained, and should be explained. An adept in yoga who bestrides the Hamsa thus is not affected by karmic influences or by tens of crores of sins. The first mantra has Agni as its presiding deity, the second Vayu as its deity. The next mantra is resplendent like the sphere of the sun, and the last, the Ardha Matra, the wise know as belonging to Varuna. Each of these mantras has indeed 3 parts. This is called Omkara. Know it by means of the dharanas, being concentration of each of the 12 kalas, or the variations of the matras produced by the difference of intonation. The first is called Goshini, the second Vidyunmali or Vidyunmatra, the third Patangini, the fourth Vayuvagini, the fifth Namadeya, the sixth Aindri, the seventh Vaishnavi, the eighth Shankari, the ninth Mahati, the 10th Driti or Dhruva, the 11th Nari or Mauni, and the 12th Brahmi. If a person happens to die in the first mantra while contemplating on it, he is born again as a great emperor in Bharatavarsha. If in the second mantra he becomes an illustrious yaksha, if in the third mantra a Vidyadhara, if in the fourth a Gandhara, these 3 all being celestial hosts. If he happens to die in the fifth, Ardhamatra, he lives in the world of the moon, with the rank of a deva greatly glorified there. If in the sixth, he merges into Indra. If in the seventh, he reaches the seat of Vishnu. If in the eighth, Rudra, the lord of all creatures. If in the ninth, in Maharloka. If in the 10th, in Janoloka. If in the 11th, Tapaloka. And if in the 12th, he attains the eternal state of Brahma. That which is beyond these, Parabrahman, which is beyond the above mantras, the pure, the all-pervading, beyond Kalas, the ever-resplendent, and the source of all light, should be known. When the mind goes beyond the organs and the gunas and is absorbed, having no separate existence and no mental action, then the guru should instruct him as to his course of further development. That person always engaged in its contemplation and always absorbed in it should gradually leave off his body or his family, following the course of yoga and avoiding all further intercourse with society. Then he, being freed from the bonds of karma and the existence as a Jiva, and being pure, enjoys the supreme bliss by his attaining of the state of Brahma. Oh, intelligent man, spend your life always in the knowing of the supreme bliss, enjoying the whole of your portion of past karma now being enjoyed, without making any complaint of it. Even after Atmajnana has awakened in one, when one has the knowledge of the self, Prarabdha does not leave him, but he does not feel Prarabdha after the dawning of Tattva Jnana, that being the knowledge of truth. Because the body and other things are unreal, like the thing seen in a dream to one on awaking from it. That portion of the karma which is done in former births and called prarabdha does not at all affect the person, as there is no rebirth to him. As the body that exists in the dreaming state is untrue, so is this body. Where then is rebirth to a thing that is illusory? How can a thing have any existence when there is no birth to it? As the clay in the material cause of the pot, so one learns from Vedanta that Ajnana is the material cause of the universe, and when Ajnana ceases to exist, where then is the cosmos? As a person through illusion mistakes a rope for a serpent, so the fool, not knowing the eternal truth, sees the world to be true. When he knows it to be a piece of rope, the illusory idea of a serpent vanishes. So, when he knows the eternal substratum of everything, and all the universe becomes void to him, where then is prarabdha to him, the body being a part of the world? Therefore the word prarabdha is accepted to enlighten the ignorant only. Then, as prarabdha has in course of time worn out, he who is the sound resulting from the union of pranava with Brahman, who is the absolute effulgence itself, and who is the bestower of all good, shines himself like the sun at the dispersion of clouds. The yogin, being in the posture and practicing the Vaishnavi mudra, should always hear the internal sound through the right ear. The sound which he thus practices makes him deaf to all external sounds. Having overcome all obstacles, he enters the Turiya state within 15 days. In the beginning of his practice he hears many loud sounds. They gradually increase in pitch and are heard more and more subtly. At first the sounds are like those proceeding from the ocean, clouds, kettle drum, and cataracts. In the middle stage, those proceeding from the mardala, a musical instrument, bell, and horn. At the last stage, those proceeding from tinkling bells, a flute, a veena, and bees. Thus he hears many such sounds, more and more subtle. When he comes to that stage when the sound of the great kettle drum is being heard, he should try to distinguish only sounds more and more subtle. He may change his concentration from the gross sound to the subtle, or from the subtle to the gross, but he should not allow his mind to be diverted from them towards others. The mind, having at first concentrated itself on any one sound, fixes firmly to that and is absorbed in it. The mind becomes insensible to the external impressions, becomes one with the sound, as milk with water, and then becomes rapidly absorbed in Chitakasa, which is the akasa where Chit prevails. Being indifferent towards all objects, the yogin, having controlled his passions, should by continual practice concentrate his attention upon the sound which destroys the mind. Having abandoned all thoughts and being freed from all actions, he should always concentrate his attention on the sound, and then his chitta becomes absorbed in it. Just as the bee, drinking honey alone, does not care for the odor, so the chitta, which is always absorbed in sound, does not long for sensual objects. As it is bound by the sweet smell of nada, and has abandoned its flitting nature. The serpent chitta, through listening to the nada, is entirely absorbed in it, and becoming unconscious of everything, concentrates itself on the sound. The sound serves the purpose of a sharp goad to control the maddened elephant, chitta which roves in the pleasure garden of the sensual objects. It serves the purpose of a snare for binding the deer. It also serves the purpose of a shore to the ocean waves of chitta. The sound proceeding from pranava, which is Brahman, is of the nature of effulgence. The mind becomes absorbed in it. That is the supreme seat of Vishnu. The sound exists till there is the akasic conception. Beyond this is the asabd, soundless, para Brahman, which is para Matman. The mind exists so long as there is sound, but with its cessation there is the state called Unmani of Manas, that being the state of being above the mind. This sound is absorbed in the indestructible, and the soundless state is the supreme seat. The mind, which along with Vayu has its karmic affinities destroyed by the constant concentration upon nada, is absorbed in the unstained one. There is no doubt of it. Many myriads of nadas and many more of bindus all become absorbed in the Brahman Pranava sound. Being freed from all states and all thoughts whatever, the yogin remains like one dead. He is a mukta. There is no doubt about it. After that, he does not at any time hear the sounds of a conch or a large kettle drum. The body in the state of Unmani is certainly like a log and does not feel heat or cold, joy or sorrow. The yogin's chitta, having given up fame or disgrace, is in samadhi above the three states. Being freed from waking and sleeping states, he attains to his true state. When the spiritual sight becomes fixed without any object to be seen, when Vayu becomes still without any effort, and when the chitta becomes firm without any support, he becomes the form of the internal sound of Brahma Pranava. Thus ends this Upanishad.